It's strong roots that leads to significant fruit. Without the root, you can't have the fruit. The Torah itself, in it we read that man is the tree of the field. So man is compared to the tree of the field. And so there is this unique connection symbolically between man and the tree, man and woman, humanity and the tree. And so one of the things Tu B'Shvat reminds us of is the need to cultivate strong roots. It's strong roots that leads to significant fruit. Without the root, you can't have the fruit. And so if you want better fruit, bigger fruit, better fruit, quality of fruit, quantity of fruit, the roots, the shoots need to be attached to the roots in order to receive the fruit. The way that we understand that is the Jewish roots of the faith. Roots bring strength and roots bring stability. The root of the entire Bible is the Torah. It's the Torah. It's the 5 books of Moses. The reason why it's the roots is because the roots are the foundation, and everything flows out of the first 5 books, and especially out of the book of Genesis. It is the root of the Torah, Bereshit in Hebrew. And so we talk about the importance of strengthening our roots and the connecting of the roots and the shoots. And so of course we have to ask the question, how do we strengthen those roots? Well, there's an interesting passage in Proverbs 3 verse 8. In Hebrew it says this, Eitz Chaim Chi. It is a tree of life. The Makazim Ba, for those who grab hold of it. And so the way that this is traditionally understood, that it's an Eitz Chaim Chi, it is a tree of life, is that it's the Torah. God's word is the tree of life. And of course, this ties back to Genesis, because think about it for a moment. The fall happened because man and woman took and ate from the tree. And really a big motivation of what was going on in the eating of the tree in the fall was a quest for wisdom and knowledge apart from God. Instead of God having to say this was right or this was wrong, their eyes would be open, they'd be able to know for themselves what was good and not good apart from what God said was good or not good. And as a result of eating of the tree, man and woman were barred, Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve were barred from Gan Eden, from the garden, but access is granted in part through the Torah. It's one of the ways back because we ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and Torah is called a tree of life. So in a sense, what it's saying is that the wisdom that Adam and Eve wanted, that they tried to obtain by eating of the tree apart from God, wasn't found that way. The wisdom that they were looking for and the wisdom that we need is found in one place. Wisdom is found in the Word, of which the foundation of that is the Torah, because the whole story of the Bible flows from there, understanding it. Tree of life, Eitz Chaim, equals 228. Well, 228 is also the numerical value of the Hebrew word baruch, to be blessed or blessed. Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, O Lord. So when you engage in the tree of life, you are blessed. You receive the blessing, 228. And of course, another key 228 is Bechor, which means first fruits. So again, the first fruits themselves, Bechor, which is 228, which comes from the blessing 228, which comes from the tree of life 228, which is the Torah, because God says, Deuteronomy chapter 11, it says, if you hearken to my voice and my commandments, then I'll give you rain in its season, and you'll eat of the fat of the land and the fruit and of the blessings and the new grain, the new wine and the new oil. So literally the first fruits 228, the blessings of the first fruits 228, it comes from understanding and being faithful to God's word 228, because it's a tree of life. If you want the fruit, you got to connect to the word. It's the tree. It helps bring forth the fruit. But of course, Bechor can mean firstborn. Yeshua is God's firstborn. He's the firstborn from among the dead. And so again, ultimately, this blessing, this tree of life, is found through the written word and as well as through the living word, who is Yeshua. But of course, there's more. I was reminded of King Josiah, the last really great king of Judah in the lineage of David. He's the youngest king to ever rule, possibly in the world. I think at 8 years old, but at 18 years old, King Josiah orders the repair of Solomon's temple. And during the repair of it, Hilkiah, the high priest, finds the scroll of the Torah and has it read to the king. And when the king heard the prophecy of punishment for the Jewish people because they weren't following God's ways, he rallied all the people and a great revival happened in Israel, a great reformation happened. But listen to these words. It says it over. It says, this is what it says. Hilkiah the Cohen said, I have found a scroll of the Torah in the house of Adonai. There's two different understandings of this. Well, there's more than two, right? Where there's two Jews, there's six opinions. One interpretation that many scholars hold, more Christian scholars hold, is that because of idolatry, because of the influence of the pagan nation, Israel lost the Torah. Can you imagine that? They lost the Torah, and it was actually lost in the temple itself. Others say, no, they just lost the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy. That was the part of the Torah that was lost. Others say, no, it was actually just the Torah scroll that was written by Moses himself that had been lost and then found. But I think whatever the case, this is so significant because what struck me about this and what I felt God impressing upon me so strongly was that in a sense, the church, the Gentile followers of Messiah, like in the days of Josiah, had lost the Torah. They didn't, obviously, Christians didn't literally lose it because we have the 66 books of the Bible. But at the very least, we've lost the Jewish roots, the Jewish perspective, the deeper understanding, the relevance and the connection for our lives. And there is an inheritance, there is a depth that has been lost. And when Josiah found the scroll and read it to the people, and as a result of the reading of the Torah to the people, calling them to not just understand it intellectually, but to live it. And then this is what it goes on to say. And then the king commanded all the people, saying, celebrate the Passover to Adonai, the Lord your God, as it is written in the book of the covenant, for no Passover like this had been celebrated from the days of the judges in all the days of the kings of Israel and the kings of Judah. But in the 18th year of King Josiah, this Passover was observed for Adonai in Jerusalem. So King Josiah, in some way, at the very least, restores the knowledge, restores the keeping of Passover in a way that transformed the nation, that led to reformation, that brought the people back from having a pagan, foreign view of God and of the scriptures. And what I'd say is that to some extent, in much of the church, the Torah has been lost. It's been hidden. And friends, this is prophetic. I believe this is an absolute essential necessity to prepare the way for the coming of the Messiah, because I believe the roots and the shoots, Jew and Gentile, old and new, word and spirit, have to be connected before the Messiah comes, because that is an accelerator of the promise of the great redemption that God is bringing. And we know revival has to come to Israel. All Israel will be saved. They're not going to be saved if Israel keeps presented with an anti-Jewish roots, anti-Torah. If we strip Yeshua of his Jewishness, if we disconnect old and new, it leads to Jewish people being disconnected from their Messiah because they're like, how is this biblical? Friends, I don't know if you really understand the weight and the significance of being forerunners and of the potential impact this can have if we're going to see the revival and reformation that we did in the days of Josiah